No soy perfecto, pero soy mexicano, que casi es lo mismo. Which translates to, I'm not perfect, I'm Mexican, which is almost the same. Hello and welcome. My name is Charles Frank, and today I will be discussing some of my travels around the world. Today I'd like to focus specifically on Mexico. Our neighbor to the south is a country that I heard a lot about growing up, but what I heard was always very mixed messages. Most people who had never been to Mexico told me that the place was just a dump everywhere. And if you go there, bring some form of protection too, because the area is treacherous. Now, see, some of these things are true some of the time, but not always. There's always two sides to every coin. In my travels to Mexico, I fell in love with the country. It is such a beautiful place. All of it. The fauna that grows in its tropical climates, the naturally formed beaches with great pyramids overlooking them, the new types of animals, it was all wondrous to me. The most interesting part for me, though, was the ruins of Chichen Itza. This is where the greatest pyramids of all of Mexico were, as well as their ball courts and astronomic observatory. The pyramids contained many hidden rooms, and at the center was a huge jade jaguar. The inside tunnels which led through the pyramids were very small, though, and made me very claustrophobic. The ball courts were used in great rituals and sacrifices. The game was played by hitting a ball, roughly about yay size, through a hoop, hitting it with your hip, through a hoop on the wall about 15 feet up, similar to a basketball net of today, except instead of being this way coming out, it's turned sideways on the wall. So the ring juts out as so. The winners of these ball tournaments were normally sacrificed to the gods due to their impeccable skills, which this is actually different than most cultures, which would sacrifice their losers instead. The places I went to, though, were mostly built for tourists. It was made to look like a paradise. Whenever my family and I went just a mile or two outside of the tourist zone, it looked like a whole nother world. This is where all the negative images of Mexico are painted and taken from. There were many people laying around the streets and sidewalks. People would beg you to buy their well-made, handcrafted items that they had just finished whittling out of wood for merely 50 cents so that they might be able to buy some food to have for dinner that night. The drastic change of location and people just a mile made blew my mind. They almost try as a whole country to block out all of the bad from the eye of the world and get them to only see a small portion of the country that's doing well. Coming from an area which thrives off of tourism, I know that you have to do this to keep people coming and to get them to want to stay there. But also being from this place, I know the hardships and struggles the locals face who are in those bad situations. There's little to no help for you to work your way back up. And most of the time, people are wanting you to fail so they can just get their hands on your land. Although the land and economy outside of the tourist areas may have been bleak and depressing, the opposite could be said of its people. I could not believe when I saw them that down and out. Most people still had a smile on their face. Kids were still laughing and playing. Moms were seen in their kitchens through their windows making meals for their families, singing while they do so. Elderly gentlemen playing checkers on their front porches. And if I ever tried to speak with one of them, even with my broken fundamental Spanish, they still took time with me, spoke to me as an adult, and smiled at me most of the time. This made my heart warm up so much, being able to see people with little to nothing live happily like they have it all. They are also very much family oriented in Mexico. Even though people may care for their families here, in Mexico, oftentimes your family is your life. It's rare to see anyone who has left their family, other than those that do so for job opportunities. And more often than not, those job opportunities are just so they can send their families most of their checks. While down there, I asked many people why they might even want to come to America. Most of them ended up saying the same thing. They told me that they wanted to come to America to work. That's it. They live in even worse living conditions in America than they do in Mexico. Work 14 hours a day, get paid less than most Americans and send home 80 to 90% of their checks every time they get it. They do this just because they told me that if they worked hard up there and made it hard for themselves, but sent the money home, their families could live like kings. So in conclusion, Mexico can be a very wondrous place, full of exotic plants and animals. But it can also be a place that faces many economic hardships and struggles. But one thing is for sure, the people of Mexico are some of the hardest working, most endearing, compassionate people you will ever meet, and deserve every bit of respect that we can give to them. Thank you very much. Have a good day.